wanted to refund it. I was like, this was not worth it. And I knew I probably wouldn't like it, but I get caught up with everyone saying how fun it is and how great it is and how it actually wasn't a terrible re-release like everything else was. And at the very least, you know, I buy on the Switch and I can play it as something that's like easy to play and very portable. So when I go on trips, like, it makes sense to me. When I'm playing it and I'm like, I just like press the buttons. I just like run around pressing the buttons. I wish I got it. You know, I can kind of see it's almost like the predecessor to MMOs, right? MMOs aren't very different, are they? You also kind of just run around and press the buttons. But some people, like Diablo 2 is like the second coming of Jesus. I'm like, okay, alright. Anyways. Top right of 2000 Atmospheres, we have Clem. Bottom left, it is MaxPax. A familiar best of 5, one that's typically in the last 6 months Clem has dominated. I'm not sure today will be any different. $45, something that should have been $15. I think it was 40 for me. And then 60 gives you like the Diablo 3 expansions or something. I didn't understand that one, but yeah. I do want to say that it's also overpriced. It is also funny because, yeah, there's... What is the other game that's, like, free to play? That everyone thinks is better than Diablo, and it's free. Oh, I don't know. Seems like I don't have any die-hard fans here who can explain it to me, so we're all kind of in the same boat. Alright, well. Moving on, we do have the One Rocks Expand from Clem, who did open up the reactor again, and went right into the Marines. And MaxPax did some nice micro, but eventually has to pull away. Are you a fan of that genre of game? The thing is that I can't think of any games that are in that genre. When I think of Diablo, I think of Diablo and then the other one, Path of Exile or whatever. That, people talk about. That's the only two I think of. It's not like RTS, where I've always been able to just say, like, well, at the baseline I like RTS, and here's like a dozen examples of it. I don't know. A little stalker pressure. Clem has built up a nice number of Marines and then swapped over to the factory for some later than usual Hellion production. At this point, MaxPax must be wondering what the heck is going on. He might just assume that, you know, Clem's waiting for a Cyclone to pop out, which should be happening soon if that was the case. He has not seen the factory swap over. What Clem is actually doing is waiting for 4 Hellions. He's going to zoom across the map. Maybe not. Okay, now he's going to zoom across the map. He's going over to the left, and that is seen by MaxPax, who's also taking on these Marines very, very well with the Stalkers. Oh no, miss micro there. Starport has been produced, and that is exactly where the Hellions are going to. MaxPax should be very well aware of this. He's about to have Warp Gate. He's already killed 10 SCVs thanks to this Oracle. He's got an Oracle back at home, and Clem, he's getting bopped. He's getting some serious dose of his own medicine. Phoenix Lift on one, Oracle Pulsar Beam to Hellbolt in the other, and some fancy micro. Nonetheless makes it so that they're not one-shotting the units, although now with the fourth one having been let go, wow, all four still alive. Thanks to that fancy micro, 9 probes go down, 10 probes, and maybe a 12. 12 in total against the 10 SCVs that were killed. Wow. So that was actually kind of cool. It felt initially like Clem was microing without really doing very much, because the one Hellion he was microing wasn't getting the shot anyways, so he wasn't having 3 Hellion shooting, which would have one-shot the probes. So I was like, oh, you know, it's cool that it's alive, but it's still not getting the one-shot. But then the 4th Hellion got unlocked from the Phoenix lift, and then suddenly you had 2 Hellions to shoot to take away the one-shot potential, and I was like, damn, that's really cool. Anyhow, the Liberator comes in, denies a lot more mining, kills 4 more probes. Might seem a bit risky against someone who's gone into Phoenix, but they were trying to chase down everything. Clem had gotten a little bit of pressure on the front lines, probably specifically to let the Liberator get damage done. And in total, that's 16 probes taken down. Overall, Clem loses more resources. He invested more into the harassment than MaxPax did, who saved his oracles too, right? But this could have been a done and over game if Clem was just a little bit worse. Hades was a recent one that people really enjoyed. Is Hades really the same as Diablo? I thought Hades was more like Transistor or Bastion, which I don't think is much like Diablo. But that's the thing, Nanoflower, is that I can see so easily how it is comparable to an MMO, and I can enjoy MMOs. But I do think it probably just comes down to the fact that I have to be in that very specific mood. I have to be into basically the grindy mood, just wanting to grind out a game. Which I guess I'm just not right now. Because I'm also not playing any MMOs right now. So Clem finds himself down 9 workers. That's pretty fair in a TVP, actually. MaxPax has had the better economy. With everything that's happened, so much to consider. And Clem is building a 3rd CC on location, at least trying to. Phoenix harassment. We'll stop it for a little while, but eventually the Phoenix will have to go back home to help the defense. Excuse me. I had a Tim Tam on the break. I went to World Market, bought a bunch of stuff they usually get overseas. Both Cyclones are picked up and dealt with very, very easily. Clem forced to do some last-minute microing. He's going to try and retarget the Widow Mines and target down the Phoenix with his Marines before the Widow Mines pop off on his own army. And did a pretty damn good job of that. But because it was such a pounce there from MaxPax, Clem really was not properly situated for the engagement. He did not want to take the engagement at the exact time that it happened. And it's turned it very awkward. It's turned it into more of just how much can you do with the micro that you've got. And because it's Clem, it's a fair bit. He made that work. But I think overall it wasn't exactly the engagement he was hoping for. Still survives, still has plenty to work with, but MaxPax is really going to push the issue. 10 gateways, about to be 11 gateways with a proxy here. He does have a robo. He could go to War Prism. But he's not doing that. He's just going to go for a Zealot run by while taking the main engagement. Now, this is getting a little bit dicey. He's lost a lot of Zealots. He's lost his Guardian Shield. And these Archons are snipeable at this moment, but the Zealots are coming in. This is what MaxPax is hoping to distract Clem on either side to get some serious damage. But so far, okay. It's okay for Clem. He's going to lose 7 SCVs by the looks of things. Lost mining time, maybe a couple of these units that were trying to defend the run by. But Clem holds on. And he's only down by 10 workers. On 3 mules, that's really not that bad. The army supplies are even, and MaxPax is still on Zealot Phoenix. Yes, Archons as well, yeah, but still, like, it's on that mid-game oriented engagements. Not super economical, not super high technology. that, you know, eventually falls to a building bio army, especially if they get to ghosts, which is exactly what Clem's getting to. Good wouldn't mind micro, but it still means that they're not shooting, so whether they fire on something you don't want to, or they fire on you, that is bad. Them not firing at all is also bad. Then MOE 10 would have much more interaction with other players. No, that's not at all what it is. Trust me. I've never... No. Until you get to, like, raids and dungeons. The rest of an MMO is exactly like Diablo. I don't get overjoyed playing the first 10 levels of an MMO because people are yelling in general chat. And I don't play with friends either, so... Anyway, this game's been kind of close, but it is starting to just tip into Clem's favor a little bit. Now that he's got ghosts, he's managed to save his economy and is now even ahead in economy. He's forced to see halfway done. His work count similar to MaxPax's. Big ol' Zealot run by is annoying, but Clem is ready to tango. He's on the front lines. Lots of Marauders getting locked out of the rest of the army, though. A big loss there. Good force fields from MaxPax. The unload happening. Well, unfortunately, there's not enough units. Like, he is fully unloaded, but that was just a little too much there for MaxPax, who, by the way, is in every little nook and cranny. He's in the main, a little bit in the natural, a little bit in the third base, but Clem is still holding on. MaxPax still ended up losing units in return, right? All the Zealots that got this 15 SCV kill, those died. A couple of the units on the front line in these engagements, those also died. Even though it looks like Clem has been beaten back and was taking a lot of damage whilst doing so, he had already been in a fairly good position. So he kind of just like slapped back a little, yeah, but not enough to make up for everything else that happened in this game. And MaxPax is no longer finding a good amount of damage with the War Prism. So gonna give up on that for now. More ghosts are on the way for Clem, who had to stall out on 1-1 because a lot of things happened, so that was a momentum breaker. Clem was starting to really get things going. He had a really good economy. Then he had a great economy comparative to the Protoss because he was slapping down mules. Then he was probably just about ready to add on more ghosts, the EMP upgrade, and maybe an armory and another engineering bay. He might have been planning on doing that, and then the engagement happened. Well, the engagement happened, he lost economy, he lost control, he lost momentum, and he had to recoup his army losses to make sure he was safe before he could invest into all these other things, like his planetary, like his additional ghosts or his 2-2. For Colossus, that's, you know, definitely a very solid amount. MaxPax can feel safe when his army's in a gigantic blob like this, but if it gets split, or worse, if it gets mass EMP'd and against a concave, like, he would be in trouble. More Zealots into the main base as the Widow Mine did not get to pop off. Looks like there was enough space over to the right side. Very annoying, but finally taken care of, thanks to Widow Mines in the main mineral line. Fourth base is now a planetary as well, so no harassment over there, and it looks like Clem still has a handle on this game. Scans ahead, checks the upgrades, sees that his upgrades are worse. Probably not a big surprise to him, though. A couple of probes have been lost to this, that, or the other. Clem now up 13, 14, 15 workers. There we go. And a tiny little drop. Just something to offset MaxPax's aggression here. I quite like that. It's a strong chance it is absolutely nothing, but I still like the idea. In this case, it will do something. Only one cannon is not enough to stop. Oh, no, but they... Oh, I think he mishockeyed them. Oh, yeah. That's what he did. Still. No. Oh, the medevac. Medevac, a lot of the stalkers we warped in, but, you know, that's still Marines. It's not going to be enough warp-ins. The Marines are already doing a little bit of distraction. And Clem is getting prepared for the main engagement, although not totally prepared. There we go. Disruptor's gonna bully him back. So many EMPs, but still no upgrade on them. Yeah, it could be so much better. Now a whole lot of Vikings, still very dependent on this concave. He's also gonna have to dodge out of the way of the disruptors. There are 2, or I think there's 3 disruptors in there. I think 2 more have got a shot now. But Clem is on the chase. at least one disruptor with a shot, but more could be reinforcing. I think one already just did, so that's actually one more beyond that. But the concave's looking pretty good. The EMPs get slapped down. The last disruptor shot not being that impressive. That is one hell of a concave as Clem's 2-2 finishes. He's going to demolish the Colossus and the Stalkers, and the disruptors are not going to stop this from happening. MaxPax just all of a sudden dipping down 60 supply below to Clem. Even though his army looked impressive, even though that was Colossus, Archons, Disruptors, a good handful of Gateway units besides that, Clem just took an amazing fight. And he keeps a lot of his expensive units alive, his Medivacs, his Ghosts, his Marauders. That's still a feisty little attacking army, and it's going to be reinforced with a couple of snipes going down to the Zealots. He still has so many Ghosts, he could also get the EMPs in there. Disruptors are right now the scariest thing, and they are still scary. You can count the shots. You can count the bullets. Oh god, the snipes. Oh my god. If only you could snipe disruptors, but they're not bio. And they're not psionic either. Wait. No, I'm thinking of something else for psionic. Okay, they're not bio. You can't snipe them. Oh, the disruptors are going to be target fired. Just kidding. We're good. Clem is going to win this game. One last disruptor shot, I think. There it is. And that should be it. MaxPax doesn't really want to give up. I mean, the current army looks beatable, but his Stalkers are struggling. Stalkers are struggling. Jeez. GG. MaxPax put up one hell of a fight. And honestly, if it wasn't for my, I guess, experience looking at the supply over and over again as I talk, I really would have thought that MaxPax had evened up the supply or even taken a supply lead when he had defended the push and gotten Zealots in the mineral lines of both main and third base. I saw red dots everywhere and was like, okay, probably MaxPax is doing all right. Then I looked at the supply. Clem still had 30 supply lead. So apparently, even though that game felt really close, and it felt like Clem was supposed to be in trouble, apparently he never really was. I forgot to start a prediction. Don't think that was the right player. Ah, casters weren't in. Now we're ready to go. In the bottom left, we have MaxPax, who's already sent out a probe. Top right is Clem. MaxPax did not stall out any probe production, though, so this is just super fast harassment. I wonder if someone did some math. It feels like it's the last 4 months, maybe even less, that I've really started noticing the super fast probe for things other than a cheese. This could just be a MaxPax, actually. I think it might be. Okay, yeah, it's a MaxPax. All right, well, my bad then. But still, you know, Mana did the super fast probe harassment earlier. And I wonder if some math was done where it turns out that, you know, having the probe leave immediately is not that detrimental to the economy compared to the amount of damage you do to the SCVs and whatnot. I don't know. But that's not here. This is just for the MaxPax build. A little bit of early aggression, hoping to catch Clem off guard. Then we're just gonna witness this little probie. Let's make its little heart out. Reaper first? No, Marine first and a Scout. And that Scout is not gonna head over to a very common location for this. It's gonna go try and go across the map and see what's going on there, which means can't stop the natural from coming down. This is already a very preferable opener for MaxPax. If Clem continues building Marines, I guess it would not be the most ideal. I think for this, I want to say the most ideal is maybe Reaper Reactor, but Marine Reactor probably also pretty good. Oh, and that's exactly what it is. He gets in, sees no gateway, cancels the command center. It's going to build up the wall. I think he had already dedicated to the reactor just slightly before he realized it was a proxy gateway. So that, I mean, it sucks, but the faster you react to this, the less damage it does, which is what we generally say. But, you know, it's... The weird thing is that you want in your heart to believe that you can save your command center, but you really can't. So the faster you give up on it, the better off you are. And now, I think Clem is okay. He loses 2 SCVs. Lost all the, you know, command center mine time, 100 minerals. I mean, okay is not really. Oh, and the Marine. Oh, stupid Marine. I feel like he is playing a dangerous game by not building a bunker. I think he could repair the Widow Mine. Widow Mines should be microed. No, he's not repairing! Yep, he played a dangerous game. He's still gonna live. And he's, you know, macroing pretty perfectly behind this, but it's just... A bunker here would have been pretty helpful. I guess there's also kind of the argument like, well, if you try and build a bunker, the SCV gets picked off all the time. SCV was gonna go repair the supply depot, but he gives up on it. Very uncomfortable opening for Clem. He's finally gonna be able to bully this back with his Cyclone. Oh, damn, he actually loses the Cyclone. He gets 2 out of 3 of the Stalkers. Doesn't even get the 4th. Oh, I'm pretty sure he wanted that Cyclone alive. Because he could have. He could have kept it alive. More Stalkers being warped in. Clem realizing this isn't over yet. He's got another Cyclone on the way. That's a decent amount of Stalkers. 3 gateways. It's kind of scary. Clem seems like he's okay now. He's building a tank as well. I think MaxPax knows it. I mean, MaxPax shouldn't have the highest hopes for this little hit squad anyways. It should be about the next hit squad, the one that might come with a Warp Prism and Blink. Oh, well, no, he's got high hopes for it. All right, then. Lock-on is kind of it's not useless, but lock-on being used on the Zealot was exactly what MaxPax wanted to have happen. Then he takes out the Cyclone, takes out the Marines, the tank is left over. Clem just playing on his back foot the entire time. Quick SCV pull to stop them from getting high ground vision. It's only going to work for as long as the Warp Prism isn't out, and it is being created. MaxPax continuing to get leads back at home. He's already up by 10 workers. He's about to have Blink. He's gonna have a third Nexus soon. Well, soonish. All this while Clem has been losing army after army. It's possible that MaxPax gets a little overeager in his attempt to just end the game right here, right now, and that's where Clem's able to come back. But Clem has been in a very, very uncomfortable game this entire time. Not totally out of it, like, why haven't you left now, buddy? But definitely an uncomfortable game. And now he's about to get blinked on. SCVs are gonna fall. Tech labs are gonna fall. Hell, even the barracks could get picked off. Not that I think MaxPax would go for that. Just gotta start clearing out these Marines. Another tank pops out. But this tank on the natural gets taken down. Trading out only what look to be one Stalker. Stalkers in the main are going after the starport. This is just too difficult to deal with. Oh no. Some pretty damn good control here from MaxPax. He loves his Blink Stalkers. And this is game-ending damage. Clem did not defend this absolutely 100% perfectly because it was always going to be almost impossible to do so. One mistake certainly was not having Marines in the bunker, I guess, or maybe his tank couldn't have been here, maybe it should have been back here. Okay, that definitely would have helped. But then otherwise, he just didn't have a lot of minerals. He's constantly pulling SCVs, constantly losing them. Only recently lost enough to say, okay, I guess he's out of this game, but still. I don't even know if he could have afforded a bunker here as well as the production that he also desperately needs to play the rest of the game. Because, okay, that could have helped, yeah, sure. Just constantly a tough battle. I mean, at this point, I feel like Clem... Some other Terrans, maybe, would have already tapped out. Some other Terrans would have tapped out after the second or third thing went wrong, and we're at, like, the seventh thing going wrong at this point. MaxPax is swimming in cash, comparatively. He's going up the charge, +1. Colossus. Clem has no upgrades. And is probably just going to do one last little push here. Can't even afford going to Medivacs. Oh, okay. Just barely afforded it. And GG. He scanned the third and saw the saturation in the Colossus. Fair enough. So tied up 1-1. MaxPax gets a MaxPax build to snowball out of control, really. There's not much you can do as Clem to stop the first portion of that build, unless you go for a very fast SCV scout. That's true. But if you don't, then there's not really too much more you can do. The only true counter build that exists outside of scouting it and reacting to it, just something you are doing to begin with, is a Marauder opener. But no one really wants to do that in case it's anything else. I guess, actually, Beyond has been doing a couple of Marauder openers with concussive shells, but that's not too popular. So otherwise, you do kind of have to accept the loss of the command center and just try and move on with your life. But because Clem also lost the micro wars pretty consistently, it was a slow snowball, but nevertheless ended in avalanche. Ended in a very easy victory for MaxPax. Didn't even have to take the fight. Clem just scanned and said, yep, that's not beatable. So bottom right we have Clem, top left it is MaxPax. Not going for a MaxPax. I guess I asked about Diablo earlier, now I'm going to ask about New World. Did anyone try that out? Apparently it comes out tomorrow or something. I didn't understand what was so great about that either. I think I understand the concept of just shoving it into a lot of streamers' hands. And if they're like, it's okay, people just are going to hear about it. But otherwise, I didn't see anything that was remarkable. Certainly one of the more boring MMO environments, in my opinion, but other people, I'm sure will disagree. Supposedly the combat's a bit better as far as MMOs go. I suppose. I guess a lot of it is just a lot of people are hungry for new MMOs. Which is fair enough. Wow, this SCV scout might just be perfect or not. He pulls it away. Oh no. So close to perfection. MaxPax is proxy maybe? Yeah, proxy gating. Seems to have made a return. Mono was doing a decent amount of this. SCV stays stuck in a corner because it was actually gonna proxy. Ow. This is awkward. So Clem's gonna be on one base for a little while. MaxPax's gonna figure this out. Well, he already knew. Second supply depot went down. But he wants to try and figure out if it is a command center, and he does. He's able to see that it is a factory expand. He's also able to see that it should be Hellions coming out of here. Maybe Woodbines after. That's what you can't quite tell, but maybe more Hellions. And he actually goes around searching for the starport. He finds it, and he's gonna deny it. Clem is going to be able to finish the starport. He needs to bring another SCV though. But the timing on this gets worse. Obviously, it got scouted, and I think most important. Oh, he did see it. Oh, I was going to say I don't think he saw the gateway, but it was a little too close. If it was back here, he wouldn't have seen it. And now he's building a bunker, because I think that would have been the worst thing about this is that if Clem was going to do his attack and not defend back at home because he's like, I'm the one doing pressure. I think that would have been catastrophic for him. But now that he can build a bunker to buy time for a cyclone, maybe a tank afterwards, I think it's all fair game. And now, so Clem has more mobility. Medivacs can hop over stuff. MaxPax's army cannot do that. I feel like Clem might have a better game here. But it's very hard to tell. Medivac pops out. Hellions get scooped up. He's gonna try and confuse MaxPax. Now MaxPax also has to lead some units back at home against this, which by the way, there's no wall, so there's 3 different openings now for Clem. Clem is maybe being a tad greedy by going for the low ground bunker, as the Cyclone already takes half damage, but his Hellions, they're still alive, a little bit weak, sure, but still alive and ready to roasty-toasty up some of these probes. MaxPax needs to do equivalent damage, which so far he is not doing, but the bunker's not done, so ooh, things could turn, but the tank also gets sieged up, and that's going to actually push away every last stalker. The bunker is not healthy, and he's going to just replace it. Okay, then. But it did its job. It bought a couple of shots. It put MaxPax in a bit more of a timer. And then there was just enough other units to wait out that tank, and the tank was the The red light there. Stop MaxPax in his tracks. The Hellenes were eventually cleaned up, yes, but the medevac lives. So far going a lot better for Clem. I don't think MaxPax will find much more success with Blink Stalkers. Clem still has a pretty steady defense against it. So in total, better trade for Clem. Only being down 5 workers still means that he's in quite a good spot. Quite a good spot. MaxPax's third Nexus is over halfway done. And he is already on his way to charge. Robotics Bay, trying to get to an upgrade. Clem's already on his way to doing that, though. Now, Clem, he ended up getting a more favorable beginning. Could have gone a lot of different ways, though, but with everything that had happened, it did seem like Clem had more potential, and he was able to utilize that potential. Now sending out a drop, hoping that MaxPax does not scout it. He's just shy of seeing it, I think. I think the Stalker barely didn't get there in time. MaxPax clearly knowing that's a very common strategy from Terrans. Knows his Stalker should be placed over there, but whew, that was a very aggressive blink when he didn't know what the heck was behind that tank, hoping that it was all alone, probably. He loses 2 Stalkers? 3 Stalkers. MaxPax also did not catch the drop, which is now entered into his main. His Colossus is about to pop out not in the nick of time. Oh my god. Oh, the Colossus. Oh, what a bummer. That's not, I mean, it's, the first Colossus is going to pop pretty quickly, but a second Colossus is going to be delayed. It would have clearly helped to kill all of these Marines a lot faster, but instead the Marines kill 7 probes. Make the Stalkers stick around for a lot longer than they wanted to, and MaxPax still is not finding any success with his Warp Prism. He goes back to the front lines, trying to get a defense started, but it's 5 Stalkers and a Colossus. It's not a whole ton. And the tanks are going to siege up, be able to either take down the natural or the main base structures. Charge and Blink are already done, to be fair, but no Dark Shrine, no Templar Archives for you. More drops headed into the main base as well, and they could kind of fall back to this tank line. Tank on the front lines gets 1 shot, gets taken down, and oh, those were not drops. Now they're drops. There we go. Now they're drops. They were just reinforcing medevacs. And now the drop gets situated. There's the tanks to help protect it. Cybernetics Core is not going to be target fired this time around because the Colossus is instead. No shield battery around to save that one. The Zealots do get a pounce on the tanks, so they take them out. That's one less thing to worry about for MaxPax, but he still has all the bio to worry about. Clem still has an economic lead once he's slapping down mules. His 3rd CC is not going to be stalled by a probe, I would say. I don't think it will. So his 3rd CC is going to finish up here with Clem in the worker lead, plus all the mules. MaxPax is in a lot of trouble. He still has his Warp Prism, and those Widow Mines are going to burrow just in time to be seen by MaxPax. So he dodges out of them. He's out in the 4th base, too. I mean, not a huge committal of Zealots, right? But still, distraction, 7 SCVs, couple of Marines, definitely not bad. Not bad at all. And the Warp Prism still being alive, still threatening something like this. Oh, what am I? So I want to move a scooch over here. Just scooch on over. Clem's army, I don't think has been scouted recently. MaxPax does not have a lot of vision. But good predicting, good predicting. With the choke on MaxPax's side, Clem cannot force the issue there. More Zealots. As north as possible. And Clem has now found himself at a worker deficit, but still mules are being slapped down. Still feels like a game that Clem should be feeling confident in. He's starting to fall behind on the upgrades. No +1 armor was ever started. MaxPax is on his way to +2. Recalls the Warp Prism, knows how important that is. The Zealot run-bys are the reason he's been able to blow his way back into the economy. But they're also just a constant threat that Clem has to consider. MaxPax is getting a lot of time to try and figure out how to play this game. More Zealots setting up for a run-by. Nice little Marine Scout sees them, but, you know, Clem's army is all on the right side of the map. And MaxPax's army is all on the left. Little scouting supply depot gives Clem a little bit of a heads up. MaxPax is playing with fire. He's down 30 army supply, and if he gets concaved, he will get destroyed. That is a lot of Terran army ready to go, but he's trying to distract. He's not really wanting to take the main fight. He's trying to slice off little bits here and there and then do a ton of SCV damage to the main base with the Zealots. Clem's gonna load up and move on over to try and take care of the main, but he's getting AI'd into the Colossus. So many Marauders getting killed or at least weakened and taking away the medevac energy. SCVs were pulled away, so not many went down, and the Warp Prism seems to, oh no, still be alive. Vikings are too busy trying to push away the Colossus. An Observer is overhead, so it sees the Widowmine field. Disruptor's gonna look for an amazing shot, not gonna find it. But still, MaxPax is creating some room for himself, and now with Force Field, he should be able to evacuate very cleanly. Trying to take out some Vikings while he's at it. Not quite gonna let him do that, but once again, choke on MaxPax's side. He pulls away at the exact right time. The exact right time. And this fucking Warp Prism, excuse me, my Terran slipped out. This Warp Prism is the most annoying Warp Prism. It'll finally be cleaned up with this Viking, but good lord. Vikings are on the front lines, couple of medevacs, not too many, but it looks like MaxPax isn't eager to take the fight yet again. He knows how fragile his army really is. It looks really intimidating, but no, at this skill level, it's really not. And Clem has gone for a double drop, not looking for the direct engagement anymore. He's like, yeah, that Warp Prism's annoying, but so are my drops. Gets the Nexus canceled and is going to be able to just barely escape. Drags a lot of the army with him, so Clem's finally going to feel confident moving out into the map. The Observer has moved. Viking, EMP, Bio. That's a pretty good army right there. But they are being out upgraded. Ooh, Colossus all by their lonesome. The Stalkers are chasing down the medevacs. Oh no. Oh no, they're not reacting very quickly whatsoever. The second Colossus is already being killed here. It's gonna be, no, not in range of the overcharge. It gets taken down. Just one Colossus left over. 4 Disruptors though. Maybe they can buy more time. Clem's at a 50 army supply lead at this point. He's getting a 4th command center at the very least. No more upgrades, yeah, but no more harassment either, so he's finally able to focus entirely on the front side of the map. I don't think MaxPax is quite gonna buckle yet. It's getting awfully close. The lack of consistent splash, you know, like no storms, not very many Colossus anymore, like that's really worrying. When he's at 6 Disruptors, I think he can depend on them to hold on. But it's always scary against a guy like Clem, especially as you try and take the 4th base on Lightshade. That's a huge concave. You really want to have a complex army there and not just be depending on a couple of Disruptor shots, Bolin strikes, which is exactly what he's looking for right now. But another army of Clem's going to come in here, and MaxPax does not have the army size to split up like this. He had no idea the army was heading off to the left side. He is getting another Zealot run by, no, DTs, sorry. DTs are running by and killing a heck of a lot of SCVs, but the main engagements look to be going very poorly for MaxPax. Oh, just Stalkers? Yeah, no, that's not gonna hold up. No shield batteries to support, no Zealots, no even cheeky DTs. Clem has now taken a really big supply lead, as he also finally grabbed some probes too. Not paying attention much more on the front lines by the looks of things, so he will be cleaned up, but he also cleans up the DTs. And Clem comes out of this 4 bases, 7 workers ahead, still in the army supply lead, and MaxPax is only on 2 Nexus. MaxPax, he does have a decent army right now. He's got 2-1 over just the +1 of Clem. He's got Disruptors. This would be the time to make the comeback happen, but I think he knows he's all in. He warps in DTs instead of trying to get in their Nexus. He looks for a shot here. He's going to find 2 ghosts. It's usually not a bad shot at all from a Disruptor, but he needs more than that. There's the Concave for Clem in the middle of Lightshade. It is a golden opportunity for a Terran fight like this, and the Disruptors are almost all out of juice. I think he's got one more to help him escape through the Natural, which is exactly what he does. But I'm not sure he has more than that. He might be about to have another shot. There it is, actually. There's the shot. Clem, is he paying attention? He is indeed. He boosts first, then stims away. He scans and sees no 4th base. He knows the 3rd Nexus was taken out, so even if that is being replaced, it's a long ways away from actually getting efficient mining done. The DTs that were warped in instead have not found any success. They do drag the army out of position, but MaxPax needs more than just finding the army out of position. He needs to actually get some really good shots, which this Concave, this map, just isn't really allowing him to do. He's even mis-microing and shooting his own stalkers at this point. Clem is a bit corralled into his own 3rd base. Things are getting a little bit awkward, actually, as Clem no longer with the Concave. Oh, has a tap out! What? No. No. Oh my god. I don't know about that tap out. He must have assumed that the 3rd Nexus was finishing. But even then, with the 3rd Nexus, Clem still had 4 bases. He could have pulled back into the main and at least, like, hidden up while he built Marauders again, right? I don't know about that one. Damn. I'm watching the replay. I'm watching the stream delay. How did it end up like this? He was only down 1 upgrade. He had all 4 bases. He's dodging, he's weaving. He loses some SCVs, but still has a worker lead. So at the end of that game, Clem, had he picked up, he probably would have lost on the medevac, to be fair. So he would have been maybe at 42 army supply. He would have been like 20 army supply to 42, I think, in the worst case scenario. But he still would have had all 4 bases. The ability to go back into his main and hole up there behind a wall. I feel like he could have rebuilt. I don't know. I don't know. It's actually been a long time since I've questioned a tap out. Usually I'm very understanding, but I think that might have been a misread from Clem. I don't know. Top left MaxPax, bottom right Clem. Something in his main? Hold on. I don't think so. He wasn't supply blocked, still had consistent income. I don't know. He must have thought, I think he thought it was gonna snowball. That he couldn't actually buy enough time even if he went into the main base. I don't think it was quite Idra levels, but even then, that Idra tap out was a bit more understandable. Than people give it credit for, sorry. Than people give it credit for. Against the hallucination, he just didn't know it was hallucination. Like, I don't... that was always a funny one that people blamed Idra on that. I think more so people blamed Idra for his reaction after he learned it. Which is, you know, he's kind of a dick about it, but... Then there was the MMA one, and from Idra's point of view, he thought that MMA still had 3 bases. He didn't know he'd killed his own orbital. And he thought he had lost his entire national drone line. So like 25 drones to drop. So he figured that the engagement wasn't good enough. Still, very easy to call, you know, an early tap out and Idra tap out, because those are the 2 most famous examples, but he was constantly doing it. But anyways, Idra tap out's more understandable than people gave him credit for. Is not more understandable than Clem tapping out. Or it is? I don't know. I don't know how I want to say this anymore. Clem tapping out was a surprise, but I don't think it was the funniest, most random tap out ever. You could see what he was going through. What his thought process probably was. Anyway, some adept harassment. It actually starts off kind of poorly for MaxPax as he ran face first into the 3 Marines. Then he tries to micro around. It is still alive, and it is going to scout that Clem really is pushing through the middle of the map. Only a stalker is here. No shield battery, no additional unit. Warp gate's not done yet. Marine's going to go just straight for the probes, which shouldn't take too many losses here. 5, maybe? Yeah, 4. Looks like the Wood of Mine went off on the Adepts, so that's a very easy cleanup as well. 4 SCVs for that many units. Let's check the resources lost. Quite even, actually, because the Adept and the Wood of Mine are also included. Now but this comes down to more of the question of what is better to trade out at this point in time. If MaxPax is getting ready to kill Clem, then trading out army is not a good thing. And MaxPax is kind of prepared to kill him. Going for a 4-gate blink opener. Or 3 gateways? 4-gate, yeah, 4-gate. If the game is going to go into a longer game or macro game, there's still 2 more minutes of the game where nothing is going to happen, then killing economy is definitely better. I don't know. I think in general the 4-gate is just scary, right? The 5 Marines and a Wood of Mine missing from a defense of the 4-gate, is that going to make or break it? Probably not. So I'd say that Clem is pretty happy with how that traded out. Now it's about the defense. Does he have the bunkers ready? Does he have the tanks ready? Does he have anything protecting the tanks? That's a bit more important. He is missing 5 more Marines than he would have, to be fair. But is he going to mass repair quick enough? Like, these are the questions that need to be answered. He is going to go for the repair. MaxPax going to take the opportunity to kill a lot of SCVs while blinking back all of his weakened stalkers. MaxPax not eager to give up yet. He does usually play a macro game out of this opener. And a decent one at that, you know, but sometimes you gotta decide not to reinforce stalkers. Sometimes you gotta decide you should. In this case, MaxPax does reinforce. Gonna grab a couple more SCVs, maybe the refinery, and then tap out. Meanwhile, the Wood of Mine drop has still been going on. Ooh, that hot pickup though. Oh, shit. Lots of distraction. More stalkers being warped in defensively, which means they're still being warped in. That's still over 400 minerals being warped in. Not doing damage. And not successfully taking down the Wood of Mine either, but also taking minerals away from a Nexus. So more and more, MaxPax is getting dedicated, and it looks like he just lost his War Prism. No more harassment, no more SCV pickoffs. That's the amount of damage he gets to do with a dedicated 4-gate attack. That's not good. Whoopsie-daisy. I don't know if he means to be doing this. I was gonna say, that's very old school if he doesn't use his factory at all. Nope, just tried to rally his factory with everything else and then it was lifted. I make that mistake. feels kindred spirits, man. Alright, some little cute micro from MaxPax. He's taking down the Marines so they don't have combat shields. No medevacs there to help heal them either. Medevac with the Widow Mine looks like it finally lost the Widow Mine and is finally going to escape. Good for you, Medevac. Good for you. You go, girl. 3 tanks is quite feisty. No medevacs, though, so Clem has to be a little careful about when he stims. If the engagement's happening, then he'll stim. But if he's trying to chase things, maybe he has to be a little bit careful. Now the medevacs are here. A little more flexibility. Can take a couple of Colossus swipes and actually recover. Speaking of Colossus, this second one's not going to be out. The Colossus is not going to get out. Robo gets taken down. Only 1 Colossus to work with. Charge still not finished. No upgrades for the Protoss either. And Clem should be winning this game. I mean, his 4-gate defense was quite good. He's not going to push the issue up the ramp, up the choke. He's pretty happy with how things went so far, but he definitely made a lead. He's up in workers. His 3rd CC is down location, although not quite in orbital, but he's up in workers. Gonna get the double drop. Oh, it's scouted. But then it can just pick up and go hide somewhere else, and there's not much MaxPax can do about that. Oh, it's not gonna hide. It's actually gonna initiate. Ooh, he's trying to drop in the natural as well. That's why. Going for some dual-pronged attacks, hoping to find MaxPax not paying attention, and MaxPax dangerously close to not paying attention. That Colossus is actually very vulnerable. Ooh, pulls back into the shield battery. Should be good now that Zealots are in the front there, too. Still lost the sentry, but looks of things, the medevacs in the main base were cleaned up very easily. They might not have unloaded much at all. That's a bit surprising. Maybe Clem unloaded them here instead of at the yeah, maybe MaxPax just had enough to one-shot every one of them down. Now this is turning into a hell of a defense as the 2nd, 3rd drop gets figured out, this time full of Widow Mines. It does get to unload, and 3 Widow Mine shots get some decent damage done. Couple Stalkers, couple of probes as well. Medevacs on the left side still alive too, so even though the main did not work out as Clem was hoping, everything else still worked out pretty okay. And now he's got a big army. He's got a big honking army. He's still going to have an upgrade lead. In fact, he's going to have 2 upgrades over his opponent. The best thing right now for MaxPax is that it is Romanicide, so he can defend about as well as possible. And he has an observer right over the army, so he can see everything. Not just when the army moves out, but, you know, ghost timings, how many Vikings do you have, when your army moves out. Also, can I run by you? Are you keeping your reinforcements at home, or are you rallying across the map? Like, super important information with this. Some Zealots are scouted by a Marine, in similar fashion to the drop earlier. The Zealots are just like, oh, we weren't doing anything, don't worry about it. You can just move away after that. And it's up to Clem to send another Marine out to scout for something. Still only on 1 Colossus, as the emphasis was put on disruptors. They're less dependable, but if you can get enough of them, they're even better, right? They get good shots, or they buy a lot of time, make a lot of space. But if you don't get enough of them, and you shoot all your shots, then it's a bit troublesome. 4 SCVs go down to that Zealot run by, which was like 7 Zealots, by the way. That was cleaned up pretty easily. Big engagement happening, but Clem is totally prepared. +1 finally finishes for the Protoss, but he's still outgunned. MaxPax is about to build up to 6 disruptors. That's a very nice count. This is under so much pressure. He's down 70 supply. His disruptors would all have to get amazing shots. Oh, he's trying. See, now this is a situation where I wouldn't mind Liberators. You clearly have the Protoss contained. Disruptors are clearly the only thing they're depending on. But I don't think Clem even needs it, to be honest. He's still dodging and weaving, mostly dodging out of the Disruptor shots, and now we're up to 7, almost 8 Disruptors. I mean, can they win this game? No. Can they hold the line? I suppose, but how much longer are 3 bases going to stand? Mineral-wise. Another engagement. Disruptors this time used to take out 1 of the tanks, but not quite the second one. So 3 Disruptor shots had to be used to take out 2 units. The rest of the Marauders are starting to get a little bit low, so they are going to skedaddle. But Clem has so much army back at home. Vikings included this time, so we can get rid of that pesky Colossus. And there's a couple of Liberators. Observer is going to see one gigantic army, then see the Liberators, and best thing you'd want to do usually as a Protoss is take the engagement ahead of where you really want to have the last stand, so that your last stand isn't where the Liberators get the siege up. But you can kind of only do that if it's an even game, where you have a force that can bully the Terran back. But the Terran's going to just force the issue. The Liberator's going to get siege up wherever the hell they want. Some units were left behind. I'm not sure intentionally, but they do find a little Zealot backstab. 4th base is done as a planetary. 5th is on the way. Clem able to have 2/2 upgrades against just +2 of MaxPax. And MaxPax has got to do something. This is a little bit of desperation, this move out, but it's also something that he has to do. He's got to take some map control back and try and make some room for his 4th base, but as he does that, the possibility of losing the engagement gets a little bit better, although this engagement's really not that bad. Clem only ahead 10 army supply at this point, does go after the Colossus, finds one of them, but he's lost a lot of army supply. Not all of his army was there, so MaxPax finds the perfect opportunity to take, 100% of his army against 70% of Clem's, leaving only 50% at the end of the day, as he tries to reinforce finally. But this was not as one-sided as the supplies started. This did actually bridge the gap a little bit while MaxPax grabbed the 4th base. So he's still kicking, guys. And Clem might be getting a little bit annoyed by this. He picks up right in the face of an observer. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. I would not blame him for being tilted. I would not blame Clem at all. And Clem is not going to go for just the all-in kind of bio thing that we were seeing from earlier Terrans that I was talking about. He is going to try and go into the higher technology, but this will put him on the back foot. This will mean that MaxPax can now kind of take the map control. He's going to constantly push this way, pull that way, and hopefully catch Clem off guard. And while he's doing that, he's building up his economy that he had not been able to get in earlier. Right? Like, it'd be different if MaxPax had struggled to do this from a 1-base scenario, but barely hanging on to 3 bases, now up to 4, takes out Clem's 5th. This is absolutely an even game. And in fact, I think MaxPax has done it. I think MaxPax has just cracked Clem's actual army and economy, but then also maybe his will. Clem scans a saturated, well, kind of saturated 4th base, and it's just like, son of a bitch. He still can play this game out. He can get to his Liberators, he can get to Advanced Ballistics, he can get +2 ship weapons, he's already got +1, and try and eventually win a big old push. But this was supposed to be a game where he could just force the issue. He could force the victory. He was up 70 supply with 2 more upgrades than his opponent, which I know don't matter much versus Disruptors, but still. And MaxPax holds on. And now Clem, initially maybe going into Liberators to try and put the nail in the coffin, didn't really get such good engagements. Now we're using them just purely defensively, almost desperately, which puts MaxPax, he's in the driver's seat. And he's not going to need the best army to do that. He's going to need an army that can scare Clem's away while pushing other angles, while doing the 12 DT run by getting a War Prism into the main base. All MaxPax needs on the front lines is pretty much enough Disruptors to consistently push Clem back. Every time Clem has to move his entire army in a blob backwards is a win for MaxPax. MaxPax actually being a little bit dangerous. I would say this is probably the most dangerous thing that MaxPax could do, just because he has now put himself in a position that he could be surrounded. Whereas before, he was drawing a line in the sand in the middle of the map. He also could be base traded, and he doesn't really want to do that against someone who is building Liberators 4 at a time. I'm not sure I like this. He lets the bio army of Clem get across the map. I think MaxPax might be regretting this. He takes out one Liberator, but can't take out very much more. DT's find an orbital that's just lifted, which is actually the best case scenario for Clem there. And Clem grabs the 4th base that MaxPax really does need, by the way. Like, I mean, they both kind of need a 4th base, but MaxPax even more so, because Clem can lift his main, he can lift his natural, he can lift his 3rd. He's Terran. He can lift it and plant it down for 5 seconds and immediately get a big boost of income. The Protoss can't do the same thing. But I guess while MaxPax's 4th went down, his 5th still stayed alive. I don't think Clem knew that. I didn't even realize that was already done. Oh, he does know about it. So 4 base to 4 base. Clem's got 3-3, advanced ballistics, tons of liberators. He never got to +2 ships, though. He should get up to +2 ship weapons. Okay, there it is, there it is. Just didn't have the resources for a little while. Orbital tries to get slapped down. Would have scouted all the DTs if they were visible, but they aren't. Looks like a main engagement's going on, though. He sees an opportunity to go for it, but that last disruptor just got a lot of units. Oh, and that was not a great time for Clem to decide to pull the trigger because he was, unbeknownst to him, being attacked by about a dozen DTs. They're going to blink away after the EMP fails to find them. And Clem is being pushed apart, like I was saying. Now, at this point, you do basically need Liberators to hold one spot while the Bio chases down everything else. But what really gets tricky for the Terran in this position is that if they have their Liberators in one spot thinking they're going to split me, and they just push you directly, you also kind of need the Liberators for the main engagement. Not always, but a lot of the time you do. Oh my god, the big DT blink on the units that were already weakened from a stem earlier on. The medevacs weren't actually close by, and he's going to be late to microing. He's playing Ring Around the Rosie on the left side. On the right side, his army is just getting destroyed, and his Liberators arrive perhaps a little bit late to the party. Marauders do come from behind to grab at least one of the disruptors, but MaxPax just evened up the supply while he finished his 4th base. He's now on 5 bases, although technically he's only mining off of 2.5. Clem, happy to have his orbital down, happy to have his mules going, but knows that he can't reliably defend this location. He's gonna set up a ton of Liberators. That is so much supply. I mean, it's also a very nice wall. Nothing's really gonna get past that with +2 finishing, but still. That's a lot of supply. Clem does not want to lose this game. I think like in the last game, he might have been a little frustrated. He might have just, again, miscalculated what the game was actually going on, but it was not his last game. So he was like, okay, I'll let this one go. Like, that sucks, but what happens. But this is his last life. And I'm pretty sure even though Clem might be, a little frustrated with Protoss right now, he's more frustrated at the idea of losing. Clem definitely does not like to lose. So he's not going to give this game up too easily. I do feel, and this might be the Terran bias in me, but I do feel situations like this, believe it or not, start to favor the Protoss. Because I know the old saying is like, well, the Terran has the ability to lift and mule, and I even brought that up, right? They can just lift and mule elsewhere, but that was when MaxPax had lost a base. Now he's back up on 2 bases mining, so it's no longer about that, it's just about the ability to, outmaneuver? Out splits? Oh, nice EMP. Very nice EMP on those DTs. And while usually that's where the Terran does best too, we're talking about the mid-game, in this late game, trying to defend these outward bases, it gets so difficult. But then again, it only gets difficult if the Protoss actually has 12 DTs that are ready to go. And after these many engagements, MaxPax is down to only 4, so he can't really do a whole lot of run-bys. Clem is also being very successful with just his bio, so he hasn't had to have the Liberators as part of the army, which means he's not microing them. He can micro full on his EMPs, full on his bio. He doesn't have to worry about his defenses because his Liberators are doing their best job. They weren't needed on the front, so they defended the back, and they've done a great job at that. Now even one of them was used for harass. And that's going to be pretty damn good harassment. MaxPax hasn't had to deal with anything. I'm back on his home turf, but now he's finally going to get at least something to deal with. He does manage to jump on top of both Liberators before Clem's army was in position, though, and Clem, well, he's not swimming in cash yet. It's great that he has another base up, but he does need to protect all of these Liberators as much as possible. Disruptors starting to be shot out, 2 of them. Third shot, actually 2, means in general, I guess the one big one was good enough, but here comes the concave. So many Disruptors left over, though. Are they going to be able to get the shots? A couple of them are starting to find some targets, but Clem just gets a full surround. This might be it. MaxPax, I don't think he can recover from this many losses. Oh, no, the last Disruptor shot was pretty good, but the last 2 Disruptors are also going to be taken down, and I don't think MaxPax can recover from this. Finally, Clem gets a good engagement. The engagement he hoped he could have had, you know, previously. There was a couple of times where it looked like he would get such a great concave, and it didn't quite go his way, especially with these DTs, sorry, being such a little nuisance. But Clem, now he's got the bases, now he's got the army supply, and now should be able to win the game. But I said that 10 minutes ago when there was a 70 supply difference. Maybe I shouldn't say it when there's only a 40 supply difference. MaxPax, by the way, never got to 3-3. He couldn't really afford it, plus his Disruptors are doing the damage for him, but that is now a big problem as he's reduced down to just gateway units. The fact that upgrades are not even is terrible. It's terrible. Only 1 DT will survive this. MaxPax was trying to rebuild his economy. He did have 2 bases mining for most of this game, most of the last 10 minutes, but the 3rd base had only recently gotten up, and Clem, oh, he barely holds on to that one. But that was not supposed to be that close. 70 supply difference at like minute 10. What? How? Pretty good game. Beckett Industries is going to be the last map. Beckett freaking Industries. Oh. I'm a little tired. I got new bed sheets though yesterday. So I got new sheets and I got a new like you know, cover on top. And the sheets are like, I did like my research and I got the sateen sheets, like a high thread count, and they are pretty damn comfy. But then what I really was looking forward to was a new top sheet, because I had a comforter before. And not only had my cats like ripped up this comforter, they just by like racing across it or playing with it or whatever. But it also was this kind of like low quality comforter that it just trapped in all the heat, right? It didn't breathe at all. So it was constantly hot. And I was kind of like sitting underneath the covers a week ago and I was like, I don't think I like comforters. So I went for something new and I got a quilt. A quilted top. And it's like nice and thin and it breathes. And I'm just like, this is so good. Why didn't I do this before? It's crazy. Keep saying that you really shouldn't skimp on like bed stuff. You know, anything that keeps you off the ground apparently is where you shouldn't be a cheapskate. But I'm just always like, yeah, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. But oh man, it's so much better. Anywho, top right of Beckett Industries is MaxPax. Bottom left it is Clem, and it's Beckett. It is Beckett. A map that does make its way into a best of 5 or above frequently enough. I'd say not TVZ, basically ever. Well, in a best of 7 it has to, I guess. So that's an easy one, but you know, never makes it into a best of 5 or a best of 3. But TVP, it actually happens decent. I guess it's not really that surprising. It's still fun. It's a bit like having Secret Spring on the last map and everyone gets some meme on it, but no, they didn't veto this one. Both of them were accepting of Beckett's difficulties, which it's a very short map. Momentum is really important here, because whoever has it pretty much just gets to carry on with it. The bigger the map is, the more likely it is that something can happen where even if you did just take an amazing fight, you can't quite put a pin in it. Wait. No, putting a pin in it means you do hold on. You can't quite finish it off. There we go. But on a short map, if you win a fight, you're just right there in your opponent's nexus, like, or command center, whatever. That also means that if you make a mistake, if you think you have the fight and you absolutely don't, which did happen to Clem quite a few times in that last game, it's terrible for you. Because you're like, okay, that was my one mistake. I'm allowed one mistake, right? And Becky just looks at you and goes, nope. No, you're not. So that's a little scary. It's just scary. The shorter the map is, the scarier it is. For pretty much anyone. Zerg's hated against Terran for a lot of other reasons besides how short it is. But for the TVP, it doesn't make as much of a difference about this little tank spot or this little tank push or whatever. A little adept Marine micro. Clem does have a bunker, so he doesn't have to commit to chasing this down. Command center's already done, CCs are done. And now we have a Dark Shrine build. It's nice and spicy to end it on. Now, this is really almost the lowest form of cheese nowadays. The DT build on 2 base is just not that surprising. It's always, well, as far back as I can remember, so like 8 years. I'm talking long time. If you were a very good Terran, so a professional Terran, you had a scan for common DT timings. And across StarCraft 2, that's different because, you know, we had more workers or less workers, whatever. But even still, it was about finding at least, you know, maybe kind of like an off timing where they're like, oh, it's 4:55. I don't need this mule, or I don't need the scan anymore. I'm going to mule. And they're like, aha, I got you, because I knew you'd predict it. It's about trying to distract. And nowadays, it's about the follow-up as well. Like, you don't just depend on the DTs working or not working. So we even have Archon drops be a thing in this matchup. So we really don't assume that the DTs will work. And in this case, they absolutely would not 100%. There's a Raven. So Clem doesn't even have to waste time being like, well, what if? Like, I need to keep this scan available. Like, no. Melee slaps down the mules. Does get supply block, though. MaxPax only just now warping in 1 DT. As I said, probably just looking for the off timing. The Raven has gonna cross the map to go for auto turret harassment, so MaxPax might be predicting this. I don't know if he... I mean, yeah, it's hard to tell, like, unless the Raven... Okay, the Raven showed itself to him, so he is gonna send the DT in. Hope that Clem doesn't notice. Clem does notice, though. He lifts the supply depot. He just doesn't have a scan. He just slapped down a mule in that natural. He's still repairing the bunker, though, so that's not gonna go down. And this DT, probably max gets 5 SCVs, but a second DT comes in, and this is being hella annoying. The Raven is yet to return. The Stalkers are maybe even looking for it. They're not gonna find it this time around, though. That would have been 500 IQ. That would have been pretty cool if they got the Raven there, too. I would have to begrudgingly admit. But they don't. They don't. A scan is also going to be available at some point, and things have been cleared out. But that was... He does a regular DT, just close your eyes and pray that it works, and he fails 100%. But by waiting, by kind of doing some stalker thing, trying to wait out the Raven harassment part, he at least gets some damage done. So he retains an 8-worker lead, about what you want when the Terran has 2 orbitals. And... can't... Oh my god, the Raven is so close to dying, it's so close to dying. Oh, and can't say that he wasted 2 DTs. Now he also has the ability to add on Archons, although the shield battery's not done yet, but now the Raven is a huge issue. Oh, he gets that slapped on every auditor without dying. I was scared that it was going to die and 1 DT at a time could try and help out, but I'm sure that Clem also has some scans in his back pocket, at least one being used back at home as MaxPax was not quite ready to defend his 3rd Nexus. Charge is not done. Shield battery was not done. +1 wasn't done. And Clem takes a swift victory right there. He gets the 3rd base. He gets a decent chunk of units. He is on 1 base, so it's not the worst case scenario, I suppose, for Protoss, but that was not good either. MaxPax is going to rebuild his Nexus and also look to apply some pressure, but he's not going to find any success. Clem did not trade out an army for it. He's going to find the Raven. That's annoying, but... Actually, Clem didn't go for a 3rd CC. I kind of hope that he does. I don't like the possibilities if I think of him SCV pulling on 2 base. I don't like to think of DT's actually winning this game somehow. What am I dropping the main? Something that MaxPax is not paying attention to. He's trying to save portions of his army because they've been split in half. There's no escape over to the right side, but there is a bit of a surround going down. Is that actually going to work? Not by the looks of things. Tanks do get taken down. Woodamines don't get the most amazing shots, and hey, it kind of worked. Zelts through the speed zone are also a bit terrifying, but the Woodamines did go off. 9 probes were killed. Finally, the medevac gets cleaned up. MaxPax holds on to an economy. Not a very good one, though. 3 bases, 37 workers is truly terrible, in fact. Clem is still going for the 2 bases, but I'm glad to see he's not... Well, I mean, at this point, maybe you could pull the SCPs. Just as long as you have scans available. But I don't think he has to. And why risk it? Just Gateway armies left over, and not very well upgraded Gateway army either. Oh, there's no force fields available. Yikes. No way to stop this attack, even though, wow, the shield battery upcharge is pretty good. It's even saving a sentry here. But this is going to be it. Clem is going to take this series 3-2. One of the closer series they've had. Well played. Clem does take the Open Cup while Hero Marine is away. GG's. Fun cast. Fun time.